Hello, Chevre. How are you? I hope you're all doing very well and having a wonderful day. As usual, we'll start with a prayer. Today's prayer will be a verse that we say a couple of times a day. Soymech Adinoi l'chol hanoiflim v'zekef l'chol hakfufim, which means Hashem supports all who fall and straightens all who are bent. Which means, of course, those that are seriously in situations where they've fallen drastically, or even including those that are falling in a more subtle way. Hashem supports all who fall. Any definition or expression of a falling should be corrected and we should rise. We're holding already into the third week of isolation, going into the third week. Much has already been discussed by all teachers and rabbis, and many have touched upon similar points. But I think we have to make it more clear, and again, we have to make the disclaimer that no one knows why God, Hashem, is doing things. We don't have to justify His ways. He will justify them when Mashiach comes. But nevertheless, and a person has to be a fashras b'maisa, which means that every person on an individual level has to look inside himself and think how he could better himself. And therefore, as the Baal Shem Tov taught us that everything is b'ashgacha pratis, everything is divine providence, every single thing. So that means we have to look at the details of the current circumstances and see how it's unique. And therefore the lesson that we're meant to derive from it is more particular and detailed. What is so terrible about what is going on? Of course, there's loss of life, there's pain and suffering, and that should stop now. Immediately. But if we're looking at what's happening in the world at large for most people across the globe, is the idea of the isolation and the social distancing. What does this mean? Recently, the political discourse and the dialogue in universities and in media is all about identity. We have what's called identity politics, and we have what's called identity crisis. And the truth is, I believe that every single person, being that he's a person, and he has a mind, and he has a consciousness, has a stage in his life where he goes through an identity crisis. But a healthy one. It should be a healthy one. Which means he asks himself, am I just an extension of my parents? Or do I have my own individuality? Will I compare myself to others? Or will I try to be who I am meant to be? Etc., etc. So when a person has these thoughts, which any thinking person, any serious-minded individual would have these thoughts, he's meant to come out okay afterwards, because it becomes a catalyst for maturity, growth, and development. But then we have what's commonly referred to as an identity crisis. It's a crisis. There's danger. He's uncomfortable with himself. He has anxiety. He's in panic. And therefore, what we should begin talking about and what we should see as the tonic and as the medicine is identity confidence. And this is what's going on right now. In our situation, it's not a question of fight or flight. There's nowhere to fight. What's going on right now is that there were people that it was sometimes running away from themselves, looking for diversions. Everything was a diversion or a distraction. And here we're taking you, we're grabbing you by the lapels, we're standing you right in front of the mirror and we're saying, take a good look at yourself. Get comfortable in a good way with who you are. Tap into your potential and maximize it, actualize it. All the good fortune and wealth that's within. There's a parable I once heard from my mashpia, one of my mashpiim, one of my mentors, Reb Yoel Kahn. I only heard it from him once, and it was in a different context, but nevertheless, this was the parable he told us. There was once a Russian farmer, a peasant, a farmer. His name was Boris. And as was the custom of many Russian farmers, they liked their liquor, they liked their vodka. And he would go with his friends to the pub and they would have a drink every once in a while. One time his friends decided to play a prank on him. They decided they're going to keep on giving him the vodka until he's going to pass out. Then they're going to drag him to a monastery and they're going to dress him up as a priest and leave him there. So one day, they go to the pub and his friends are giving him a slap in the back. Boris, have another one. And they're giving him one drink after the other. And Boris is going, sure, I don't know. More and more, he passes out. They take him to the monastery. They dress him up. A couple hours later, Boris wakes up in the monastery dressed as a priest. He starts tapping himself. He looks at himself. And he begins to have a dilemma, an identity dilemma. Who am I? Am I Boris the farmer or am I Boris the priest? And he says, 1 minute, I'm a farmer. I know I'm a farmer. But the evidence shows that I'm a priest. So he looks around, he sees in the room there's a mirror. He runs to the mirror, he looks into the mirror, he sees, it's clear. I see myself, this is who I am. It's no mistake, it's me. And I'm dressed like a priest. But it can't be. I know that I'm Boris and I have a wife, Natasha, and I have 8 beautiful children, 4 boys and 4 girls. So I can't be a priest. As he's pondering this deep question, he notices the bookshelves full of books. He says, you know what? I'm going to decide, I'm going to resolve this riddle once and for all. I'm going to run over to one of those books, look inside, and start reading. If I can understand what it says there, that means that I'm a priest. And if I don't understand what's written there, that means that I'm a farmer. Because priests understand about angels and spirituality, and I understand in cows and chickens. He runs over to the books, he opens up a book. Not only he doesn't understand one word that's in the books, he can't even read it because it's written in Latin. So he tells himself, oh, so this proves that I'm a farmer, of course. But then he picks up his eyes, he sees himself in the mirror, and he's dressed as a priest. So the evidence shows that I'm a priest. Logic says I'm a farmer, but seeing is believing. I'm a priest. He says, but then how come I can't understand one word that's in the books? Oh, the answer is simple. None of the priests understand what's written in the books and can't read what it says there. So that was the parable that Reb Yoel told us in a different context. What does this parable teach us? This farmer looked for the easy way out. And he brought down the standard of what a priest is. He decided all priests are ignoramuses. So instead of aiming higher, instead of striving for excellence, instead of finding out who he really is, and understanding that he has a beautiful family and a beautiful life, as a farmer, he chose to change what it means to be a priest and bring down whatever a priest means. So, this is what we have to be looking at and thinking about in these days. That we have to become comfortable with our identity. There's nowhere to run. Introduce yourself to yourself and tap into the riches that you have, which are immeasurable. And I thought to myself that this might be also the meaning of the Mishnah that says the words Bal korcha chatachai, which means you had no choice. God created you. It sounds pretty harsh. He took away my choice. What's the good news in that? The answer is Bal korcha chatachai. I'm giving you the greatest gift. And I'm telling you, live. Live to your fullest. Become all that you are, which is amazing. So my blessing to you is that we should all be successful in finding our true selves, striving for excellence, and have the identity, confidence to demand from us more and more to rise and rise. Broadcasting from my home, Be'ezer Hashem Yisbarach, your man in Melbourne.